Hello, love.
Hello there. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing today?
I am well, thank you for asking.
I'm so glad to hear that. And how are all people out there in TV land? How are you? Boys and girls, men and women. And I hope you're having a blessed holiday season here. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving and Christmas, and I hope the new year is starting out. It's on a high note for you. Now, when I started this series, I started by challenging everyone. What were you doing at 27 years old? I told everyone to have their natal charts done and then have the chart done when they were approximately 27 years old and see what were they going through. Remember, what were they going through when they turned around 27 years old, and what planet was visiting their natal Neptune. For most of us, it was Pluto. And most of us were going through some type of difficulty, some type of mental difficulty, some type of turmoil, having some type of trouble at that time. And if you weren't, you were one of the lucky ones, and God bless. But for the majority of people, they were experiencing some type of mental, emotional problems. The example I used at that particular time was James Holmes, the Aurora, Colorado shooter. And I used Mr. Holmes not because of his infamy in the shooting, but because James Holmes is a pure type that there's no other reason that we can find why he would have acted in this manner, would have, like they say, gone off the deep end and just started, killing people and just acting in this totally, insane manner. Now, if you take a look over here at this chart I prepared, you can see that James Holmes was born in 1987. Okay, December 13th, 1987. December 13th, 1987, in James Holmes' natal chart. This is his natal chart. Neptune was setting at 7 degrees inside of Capricorn. Okay. On the day Mr. Holmes went off and in the Aurora Theater, Aurora, Colorado Theater, and started killing and indiscriminately trying to destroy people, 70 injured, 12 dead. Pluto, that was 2012, July 20th. Pluto was setting exactly at 7 degrees Capricorn, over the spot where Mr. Holmes' Neptune was when he was born. And if you read Mr. Holmes' chart, there's no other reason that an astrologer would find why he would do something like this. And so this is the reason that I used him as the first example, as pure example. Since then, though, I found another example, another person. I think his name is Sing Wee Chow. The kid that went off at the college and started killing people. He also was a pure example, but I have not done his chart. I just checked it. I went from there to Mr. Devin Patrick Kelly. Devin Patrick Kelly was the Sutherland Springs, Texas, First Baptist Church shooter. And in that shooting, he killed 25 people and wounded 20. Now, once again, this is a situation where there's no other reason for him to have gone off in this manner. And if someone wants to say it's a coincidence, but Mr. Kelly's Neptune, he was born on February 12, 1991, sets at 14 degrees of Capricorn, and at the time of the shooting, Pluto was hovering above Mr. Kelly's Neptune at 17 degrees Capricorn. Okay. Now, some people would say, okay, you're trying to, say that blame Pluto for your problems and this, that, and other, but there's too much evidence here. Too much evidence is showing up for this to be a coincidence. And it's happening in not just these guys' lives, but in everybody's life. Now, the third example is Mr. Ron Pigpen McKernan. I think Mr. McKernan played the organ for the Grateful Dead. Also died of overdose at age 27. Mr. McKernan was born on September 8th, 1945. And if you check as you see here, Mr. McKernan's chart, he had a natal Neptune setting at exactly 5 degrees of Libra. Here it is right here. On the day of his death, which was March 8th, 1973, Pluto was setting right over Mr. McKernan's Neptune at 3 degrees of Libra. Yeah. And once again, but we did find a aspect which may have argued a problem here, because we find that aside from his natal Neptune being conjunct to his moon, and the moon deals with your imagination and your body. Okay, it was both of them were squared to his Mars, and that usually means that the man is susceptible to be a victim of disincarnate spirits who may either use them as mediums or obsess them, whatever. So, but this is just this is the aspect which was activated when Pluto came in conjunction with his Neptune on that day, and around that time. All right. I move now from Mr. McKernan to Mr. Dave Alexander. He's another. It was with the a entertainer who was with the Stooges. Dave Alexander was born on June 3rd, 1947, with a Neptune setting at 5 degrees of Libra. And on the day of his death by drug overdose, Pluto was setting at, I do believe that is 8 degrees of Libra. Okay. But also, Mr. McKernan had a aspect which we call a square. And that square was with his natal Neptune to his Mercury, which gives you your common sense mind. Okay? And this aspect in itself, which was activated when Pluto came in contact with this Neptune, causes a person to have a chaotic mind, a liability to lack of memory, indolent, and a disposition to dream the time away. There's also a restless desire for fame and the inability to fit in anywhere. It also causes the person to be liable to fraud and deception and slander, and also to commit suicide. So this would seem to be right in line with what happened on February 10th, 1975. After Mr. Dave Alexander of the Stooges, I want to find another example just to show you of a famous entertainer who died at 27 years old, and that was Jimi Hendrix. Jimi Hendrix, born November 27th, 1942. At that time, his Neptune in his natal chart set at 1 degree of Libra. On the day of his death, Pluto was hovering at 28 degrees of Virgo. 28 degrees of Virgo. 28 degrees of Virgo is 3 degrees away from an exact conjunction, or could be considered an exact conjunction of the spot of his natal Neptune. Yeah. He also, at this point, we have a square of his natal Neptune with his natal Uranus. And this argues, it draws a person to the occult, the mystical side of life. But it also says that the path is beset with dangers of mediumship and obsession all through his life. He is filled with vague dread of impending disaster which he cannot account for nor dispel. He is filled with vague dread of impending disaster, which we cannot account for, nor dispel by will or reason. Uncertainty overshadows his life like a cloud, and robs him of peace and contentment. The next example is Janet Joplin. Janet Joplin was born on January 19, 1943. Her natal Neptune was in 1 degree of Libra. On the day of her death, Pluto was hovering over her Neptune at 27 degrees of Virgo, a mere 3 degrees away. These people are members of something they call the 27 Club. And last but not least, I have the natal chart and the chart of the day of his death of Adam Lanza. Adam Lanza, of course, is the shooter who went off and killed the 20 children. And I'm not trying to say that Adam Lanza is well, I guess I am saying that Adam Lanza had problems his whole life, and there should have been a warning sign. You know, these are warning signs. These are things that you can see, things that we can prepare for. And just having the natal charts done and whatever. And when this came about on December 14th, 2012, Neptune was conjunct to the moon, of all things. The moon was conjunct to Mr. Lanza's natal moon. Okay? This came about as just an overload. I understand it. And the reason that I can speak on this about Mr. Lanza's problems, and he had plenty of them, is because I experienced something similar with Pluto and my moon around about 2010, 2011. Now, I was well aware of Pluto's effect on people, and I was watching it as it came in conjunction with my moon. One night in 2010, when this thing came in conjunction with my natal moon, which sets on my ascendant platform, it switched me on like a light bulb. All of a sudden, I was trying to keep up with myself. Something snapped, and the next thing I knew, my lungs were filling up with liquids, with my own bodily fluids. I was moving like, let's say like when you come off from a jet, like you have jet lag. Yes, and I was just rushing. I couldn't stop. When I stopped, my lungs would fill with fluid, my head would lock up. thought I was gonna die. I was up doing push-ups on the floor. I was doing jumping jacks. I was doing anything I could do to raise my rate, my metabolism rate, to speed myself up, to keep up with where this thing was pushing me. And I finally made it to the hospital. The nurse took one look at me and said, "Get him in the back." And said they got me in to see the doctor. At which time I suffered another attack. Started going through it again. At that point, the doctor grabbed the syringe, just dropped my pants and hit me with a shot of, I do believe it was prednisone or whatever, which seemed to slow me down. Next thing I knew, I was in an ambulance on my way to another hospital. Make a long story short, nobody knows what happened. They tell me, "Oh, you had some type of seizure." Some type of seizure. I was in my 50s at this time. They have no explanation for why this happened or whatever. The only thing I can tell you is that when this thing came in conjunction with my moon, I lost 20 pounds in 1 night. And we are talking about the supernatural. When I recovered from it, they had me on these prednisone. They put me on these prednisone tablets and to, I guess, keep me stable, keep me. It went. I was, got back on the road to health. I was perfectly healthy, doing okay. Along came 2011. That planet backed up again to my natal moon, and it felt as though someone had taken me and just twisted me like you twist the wring out a rag, just twist it, whatever. And so I'm telling you, it made my appendix jump. Now your appendix is dormant. It doesn't move. There's no reason for it to do anything. And when it does, buddy, it feels like you've been shot, in the stomach. Either way it goes. These are the things that people go through. Adam Lanza, James Holmes, Jimi Hendrix, they went through it because Pluto conjuncted with their higher minds, their Neptune. I went through that already. I've been through that disaster. Okay. And then it hit my natal moon. And it like to kill me physically. Okay. Each person who's experienced something different when it comes in conjunction with a different planet. So we're not just talking about, it hit your Neptune, you're hearing voices, you're being diagnosed as schizophrenic because you ran to the doctor or you ran to the preacher. Yeah. We're dealing with something that, for the most part, when it comes in conjunction with the planets in your natal chart, it switches on certain reactions, which I would say, for all intent and purpose, are like it's like induction. It's something that's sitting there waiting. Okay, you need to know more about it. You need to study it. I've seen the same thing induce what they call Tourette syndrome in people. I mean, not just the ones that go off and curse and all this stuff, but I've seen it put people up on their toes and to the point where they wear their shoes out from the toes back. So each one of these encounters is going to bring about a different reaction, and we need to get together, organize, and find out what's happening, because this is a fact that nobody's going to tell us what's going on. We're going to have to find out for ourselves. If you agree with me and you'd like to learn more about this, you can reach me at Adam Peace Anna @gmail.com. And I have a web page, which is what's that web page again, love?
www.adam, A-D-A-M, Peace, P-E-A-C-E, Ano, A-N-O, .wordpress.com.
If you believe and you agree with me, or you have any question about what's going on here, if you'd like to know more, get in touch with me. Until then, enjoy your life, beware of what's out there, and be prepared. And there are ways to prepare for these things and to be ready when they come your way. Until then, until next time, peace out and have a wonderful life.